the camera is a more accurate version of the events in question. So surely, not just from a legal perspective, but from a moral one, we would consider it unreasonable to place ethical restrictions on recording someone when we don't place restrictions on someone writing what they said down with a pencil and paper and shouting it from the rooftops 5 minutes later, because the recording does the individual more justice than secondhand hearsay. Words are different mediums. But when it comes to the methods, you have a choice to make. You can either, from my perspective, deceive your audience, or you can, for lack of a better word, deceive the person that you're interviewing such that you can tell the truth to the audience. And one is worse than the other, and you only have these two choices. But at this point, it's gotten so bad that we think that these tactics are completely necessary, because we live in a country where the public's right to know is very important. We cherish the First Amendment. We hold these truths to be self-evident. We believe in the First Amendment so much that you're going to have to deal with the methods. You're going to have to deal with the possibility that the person sitting next to you has a recording device, because we cherish these values. If you want to live in a different society which doesn't cherish those values, which leans towards secrecy and the public not knowing things, then you don't have to deal with those methods. But the Society of Professional Journalists said, you only use it as a last resort. And I would submit to you that we're basically there. There was Amy's statement and there was ABC News' statement.
Whatever it is, it's freaking scary.
Yeah.
Right? Because the idea is that you're seeing, it's like somebody's recanting their testimony
exactly
in North Korea. And you know that there's like a gun held to the person's head, or you're watching a hostage video or something like that. Okay. I bet that you probably even do something that regular journalists don't do, which is check the journalist's code of ethics.
Right.
That you had effectively a black-led Maoist uprising with a white sort of ultra-woke president against an anti-racist behaving in an anti-racist fashion, being called a racist. That story was so destructive to woke ideology that the New York Times couldn't cover it. So, we talk about in Judaism the written Torah, and we talk about the oral Torah. And I believe that your lawyers know what the rules are for recording conversations in public places, semi-public places, whether the door is open, closed, one-sided or two-sided consent, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And the idea is it varies from state to state. And the average person, their idea of these rules is zero. They're completely ignorant of the law.
The medium is the message, that book. And, the way the medium changes how we perceive the world around us, it actually changes how we think. It does. There's a difference between recording something and broadcasting it. And I would say this oral Torah metaphor that you use, we draw the line at the choice to broadcast the information. I can't tell you on my server how raw tape I have where someone sent something that was very private. I'm not going to tell you where or who, but there was an example where someone at a bar said, come up to my hotel room and engage in some menage a trois. I didn't publish that. That's pig's blood. It's my duty as a citizen. It's my obligation not to publish
because
that.
It wasn't newsworthy?
It wasn't newsworthy. The recording itself is distinguished from the broadcasting of the recording, and that recording someone is a fundamental human right, just like writing down what they say is a fundamental human right. And to restrict someone from saying what they hear, it goes back to my argument about the First Amendment.
I can't stand what the left has become. It's unrecognizable to me. It's not a force that seems to want to fight for working families. It doesn't really seem to care about the environment, like this. The Sierra Club used to be against immigration. It's sanctimonious. It's pure, constant sanctimony in the service of institutions.
Investigative reporting was a loss leader on a company's balance sheet. So in those days, there was kind of newspapers were certainly more profitable than they are now. And David Wright on the ABC tape put it thus. He said it changed in the digital era when it became even more commercially. He says the commercial imperative is incompatible with the news. A lot of the insiders one of the reasons they came to us, other than the fact that the Washington Post and New York Times said that one of them said to me, the fact that you didn't settle that lawsuit, the fact that you stood by your reporting, the fact that you would stand on principle at great economic cost.
You are driven by something which is not money. There are easier ways to turn a buck than what you're doing.
Right.
You were driven by, I think, I could be wrong, in part, an ideological need to get at certain things that are going unreported anywhere.
By the way, I believe government is downstream from media. I agree with Solzhenitsyn that the press has more power than all three branches of the government, and I think you probably agree with that too. If you don't, we should talk about that.
Well, I wish I saw it as distinct from the branches of government.
Yeah. Okay. This is my Martin Luther moment. Here I stand, I can do no other. In order to have the authority to not settle the lawsuits such that I can draw another insider out to come to me with more tape.
I know where you're going.
I have to be able to draw, they call it the network effects, if you will, whipsawing effects of drawing out other people. They have to know where to go.
To you, Project Veritas.
Because everyone else will settle the lawsuits. Everyone else will quit. They're the barriers to entry.
I don't even know if this is correct Spanish, but like huevos del toro, like you're establishing at some level that your organization will stand behind the people who contribute to you. You will protect them, that you have the competency. That is how you see Project Veritas.
A huge distinction ethically that that I believe in is that you have to behave like there are 12 jurors always watching you whenever you work. Mm-hmm. In your bedroom, I don't want to know what goes on in your bedroom. I don't care. I think that's a boundary I would never cross. I strongly believe that there are some, like we're talking about, it's a situational ethics. Listen, the beauty and bane of the ethical thing is that it's inherently situational. You can't evaluate the means used to obtain the information in the abstract. You have to evaluate on a case-by-case basis. This is what all of the reporters have said in the 20th century when it comes to this. We don't moralize. We don't editorialize the content. The medium is so pure. It's the purest type of reporting. We don't add to it. We don't edit it out of context, contrary to reports. We don't do any of that stuff. And what other journalists do is try to contextualize and add moralism to it. Investigate our stuff is hard fact.
Why'd you go after Acorn?
Because I logged onto YouTube and I saw a videotape of three reasons. Number one, a girl messaged me on Facebook and said I'd love to do something on Acorn. So I logged onto YouTube, 2009. I typed into the search bar Acorn because I didn't know a lot about them, and I saw a video where they were squatting foreclosed homes. And I looked that up and I said, well, that's against the law. So while that might be morally justified in some circumstance, I think that someone needs to expose or test these Acorn workers' propensity or willingness to break the law. And what was different about what we did is we just walked in off the street and had a conversation. It wasn't some elaborate deception. We go after the sacred cows, Eric. We go after the organizations that the media is unwilling or unable to investigate.
I believe somebody is going to send you a piece of video that I am going to say, oh my God, that is incredible. I needed to know that. That is the most important thing. And it's going to have Project Veritas stamped on it. Mm-hmm. And I am going to show that to people. And you know what they're going to say? I'll just tell you because I move in academic left of center circles. You can't trust anything from Project Veritas. And I'm going to say, wait a minute. Are you claiming that there's a cut in this? Are you claiming that this never happened? Are you claiming this? And they are not going to listen to a word. All they are going to say is, I've got my fingers in my ears, my eyes are closed, and I'm going, nom, 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 so I don't have to hear a single thing James O'Keefe ever says. That's their strategy to keep you from having the impact that the best of your work deserves. And you were wrestling with the ethics, and it was inspiring.
I think I wrestle with them more than you see.
That's what I'm saying.
And at night, getting a little naked at the booth here, I torture myself.
Yes. Are you willing to risk personal destruction for what you do?
Question.
Are you willing to risk jail for what you do?
Probably. Yeah.
I think you're willing to risk ruin.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a unique role in society, which maybe makes me more willing to subject myself to the tactics that I do. But that's somebody has to do it. The insiders, it's 0.00001% of people are probably willing to strap a camera to themselves, violate a non-disclosure agreement for the public's right to know. In a country of 400 million, that's a lot of people. And the way that I'm wired in my brain is I have internal dialogues with myself.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to get at.
But people don't know that.
I know.
About me.
No kidding.
In fact, I would say even my staff doesn't even know
but that's
that
what I
about me.
gambled on, given what it is that you do, because you do things that
Take
show
my
a
word
super.
for it.
I know.
You don't have to believe me, but I hope
I
that
don't
you'll...
need to take your word for it. It leaks out in what you do, James.